What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Thanks for tuning into Stock Essentials. Today we're going to be going over AMC stock and what is going to be happening moving forward. So AMC just barely closed under $60, which was our price target. I thought that AMC was going to close above 65, which is our second target, because once it hits those levels, a lot of call options would be expiring in the money and exercising. But even though AMC didn't close above $60, it's still really good. Over 400,000 call options are still going to be exercising in the money, even though we didn't hit the $60 mark, where a lot of the calls were actually at the $60 mark. So we could see a gamma squeeze still next week, even though we didn't hit the $60 mark at least. A lot of people had their eyes on at least closing above $50. The $40, $50, $60, $65, $70 marks all had huge amounts of open interest and a lot of call options. So as we could see here, 411,000 call options expired in the money, and everyone had their eyes on the $60 price point, where there would be an additional $33,000 call options expiring in the money. And if AMC had closed over $60, that means that over half of all call options would be exercising. But just in fact, just under. Little bit like half, but just under half of the call options are actually going to be exercising, which is a huge amount. But the good news is a lot of the puts are going to be expiring worthless, so we're still pretty bullish on AMC, and it could still squeeze next week. So even though we just barely closed under $60, which is a little bit disappointing. It seems like that I'm still pretty bullish on AMC. It's still holding this $50, $60 price point level pretty nicely. It means that a lot of the retail investors are still holding the stock. They're still buying up the dips. AMC did in fact dip to as low as $57 a day, but then it got bought back up, which is also pretty good to see. I'm still holding 200 shares, a little bit down. Not too worried. But overall, I think that next week is going to be pretty exciting, even though we didn't close over $60. So keep your eyes out on AMC for what happens next week. So going forward, we are going to be watching AMC close over the $60 mark again. And if it can close over $70, as we can check in the options dashboard here for AMC, there's a whole ton of game exposure for the 145 strike. If AMC somehow manages to go and hit 145, AMC is going to go to the moon. There's no doubt about it. There's going to be a huge gamma squeeze because of that. But if it hits the $60 mark next week, or even the $70 mark, which is possible, we still have a week worth of AMC time on our hands. If AMC hits the $70 mark, where a lot of the call options are, we're going to see a gamma squeeze most likely. But even though we want to see AMC close above $60 next week, which would be pretty amazing, and we can see another nice little squeeze if that happens, where most of the call options are in fact going to be expiring in the money again for the next week. So what should we do going forward? I would just recommend buying shares. Call options are going to be a little bit risky, because as we can see, like today, it was pretty flat overall. We had a nice little run up in the morning, almost hitting $65, and then we had a nice slow steady sell off. Due to quad witching day, the volatility was a bit higher. Trading volume was increased as well, and a lot of people just didn't want to really hold over the weekend. They didn't want to risk their money, and a lot of the paper hands holders ended up selling up their positions. But I guess during like these dips, it was bought back up by the confident retail investors. And as we can see, it almost went back to $60 in a day, but it still ended up selling off, unfortunately. But as long as it maintains this price point, we're still pretty bullish. as we can see here. It's nice and consolidating, going up and down between this $50-$60 range, and that's pretty bullish because if it was a pump and dump right when it spiked up early June, it would have just dumped immediately, but it's maintaining its levels. So we're just going to keep holding our AMC position, and if it does dip, I might even add some more shares to my portfolio. So I'm holding 200 shares, roughly just under $12,000 worth. So I may add maybe 50 more shares next week, depending on what happens. So that's a little bit of an update on AMC. We're still pretty bullish on the stock, even though it didn't close on over $60. I still think that there's still a lot of potential for AMC because a lot of these shorts have not yet covered, and most of the shorts have been holding since when the price was around $10-$15. So they're down a ton of money already. They've lost over, I think, $2 or $3 billion just on the short positions, and they're still holding, hoping the stock goes down. But as long as us as retail investors keep holding and buying up the stock, they're going to eventually have to cover their shares for about maybe a 500%. Currently, it's a 500% loss. But if we can keep staying strong with AMC, we can see those losses for those shorts be amplified even further. So that's about it for this video. Comment down below what you think of AMC. Are you guys disappointed? What do you guys think for the future of AMC? Is it going to skyrocket next week? And of course, subscribe if you're new here to the channel. Helps out a lot. Thanks for watching.